And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken right here on BearcatJournal.com. As always, make sure you visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Get down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15%. They're open Wednesday through Sunday, lunch and dinner, and they will get you taken care of. Or you can hit them up on the app and get them delivered pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop. All right, here we go, Aaron. I got some new wall art. What do you think?
I mean, I know I initially asked you if it was JQ, but I couldn't see the details.
So I was I haven't really been a husband or a dad the past like 2 weeks. So I promised the girls we would go to the outlet mall today and get some Christmas shopping and some things of that nature taken care of. They have there's an autograph, like a memorabilia store there where if you remember last like January, February, Brian Cook and Kobe Bryant did a bunch of signings.
Right.
So there was a Brian Cook piece that I picked up. They also had, and I'm not, the unpaid advertisement. If you're up there, they did have a signed Kobe, like authentic helmet, and I think it was on sale for $150,
something like that. Yeah,
like the black, the one that Cook is wearing right there, and then they had a B Cook white one. I think that was a little bit pricier. So some good stuff up there. Fortunately for me, 2 weeks ago, they sold the authentic Travis Kelce helmet that they had, because if not, that was going to be an expensive trip into that store. Because I've done some research on what Travis Kelce, autographed Travis Kelce, authentic Travis Kelce helmets go for. And Kelsey's not getting one for Christmas. But added a little wall art. Here we are. All right, Aaron. I think it's time to have a tough conversation. We usually try to keep this light and try to have some fun and the topics surrounding UC. We do have one little piece of house cleaning. Cincinnati landed 3-star defensive back Jay Davis, who flipped from Louisville after his official visit this weekend. So things are off to a good start. Luke Kandra transfers from Louisville to Cincinnati. Cincinnati gets a flip from Louisville. The first official visit weekend is done. The second official visit weekend is underway. And what I mean by that, they had a group in Friday and Saturday. They now have a group in Sunday and Monday. So we will have continuing coverage of that. But a top 500 player, a really good player out of Florida or Georgia, excuse me. And this is what you want. You want to see when you introduce a new coaching staff is that they're able to bring some of their guys with them. Because guess what? Luke Fickell is going to bring some of the Cincinnati guys with him to Wisconsin. You expect Scott Satterfield to do the same here in Cincinnati.
It's a splash.
All right. Yeah, it's a splash. It's a good get. All right. Jeremiah Davenport.
Oh, boy.
We need to have a talk. And I think that talk centers around this fan base is really down on Jeremiah Davenport right now. And I understand it. He has not played well. In large part, he has been, at times, especially in the biggest games, a guy that is not only a ball stopper, but he has gotten into this place where he thinks he's, as soon as the ball touches his hands, that it's up to him to make something happen.
do want to say he's averaging 9.4 points per game, 3.7 rebounds per game, 1.8 assists per game, and shooting 31.5% from the field.
Also shooting 32% from three, which, if you go back and watch the start of the Crosstown shootout, the reality is a large part of why Xavier was up 13-1 at the beginning of that game was because Jeremiah Davenport decided he was going to be the hero.
I want to point out that this young man has a tattoo of the skyline and Bearcat eyes on his chest.
Again, this is not to dump on Jeremiah Davenport.
I'm just pointing out that it makes sense that he would want to try and be the guy in a game like this.
And a guy in a game like the Ohio State game. But guess what? He's not Jason Tatum or Kevin Durant. He is a guy that is a player at this level that has the potential, as we've seen, has the potential to be a high-impact guy. But that is only if he plays within himself and plays within the system. What he cannot do is what we saw at the beginning of that game, where every time the ball hit his fingertips, the offense stopped, everybody stood, and waited for Jeremiah Davenport to take a shot. That has to stop. Go to the second half, okay, where Jeremiah Davenport's minutes were drastically reduced. The ball moved, the offense was effective, and they scored 53 points in 20 minutes. They had 1.3 points per possession in the second half, with Jeremiah Davenport largely off the floor.
Are you surprised he's averaging almost 2 assists a game?
No.
I'm surprised that it's
that high. When he does things right, when he plays within the system, he is a good player. When he paints outside the lines, he's that asshole kid in preschool that brings home a picture that their parents put on the refrigerator that looks like a blob. When he paints inside the lines, the kid gets an A. And I think if we go back, okay, let's see. NKU, 2 for 9 from the floor, 2 for 7 from 3, a bunch of terrible shots. Terrible shots. He took terrible shots in that game.
Yes.
Arizona, he played within the system. He had 5 rebounds. He only had 1 turnover. He had a steal. He had a block. He had 10 points, 2 of 6 from the floor, 2 of 4 from 3. He wasn't phenomenal in the Arizona game, but he was productive.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but Wes likes to allow his players the green light. He likes them to shoot themselves out of slumps.
No. I will correct you. He likes his players to play within the system and shoot when they're open. He doesn't like his players to catch the ball and say, screw everybody else. No matter what, I'm getting this shot off. That's not.
I did say correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. But what you're saying is right. Wes wants his players to play within the system. If they have a good shot, take it. What we're seeing right now with Jeremiah is he's fluctuating where he does that and he's productive, and then moments where he just decides, I'm going to get mine. And if you're Kevin Durant or you're an elite player, an NBA draft pick, you can do that. I'm going to get mine. If you're playing within a system where you're let's be honest here. David DeJulius is better than Jeremiah Davenport.
Yes.
Landers Nolly is better than Jeremiah Davenport.
Sure.
Victor Locken, better than Jeremiah Davenport.
As he's emerged this season, yes.
So at best, what is Jeremiah?
Number 4.
We can discuss Dan Skillings and Josh Reed and some things that are moving, leveling up. But right now, Jeremiah Davenport is your 4th option. You're at best your 4th option. He is at times playing like he believes he is the number 1 option. And that has to stop. It has to stop.
It's a weird thing that Jeremiah Davenport's never been on a roster as talented as this roster.
Right. That's a problem.
And
at least in terms of how he is responding to what is happening on the court. Which, guess what? When you feel like you're the guy, and this is where I have struggled to fault him. He has as much love and respect and belief in this city and what this city is, family and like he is about the right things. But what's happening on the floor is being lost in the shuffle because he is not seeing Dave deserves the ball. Landers deserves the ball. Vic deserves the ball. And I should be a guy spreading the floor, shooting the 3, pump faking and taking the straight line drive, dishing for a dunk. Like, he has to be in his role. He has to be the best player he can be in his role, and he's trying to be the number 1.
One thing we've talked about all season has been the lack of assists. And when you have guys that stop the offense and are missing those shots as soon as they get the ball, you run into a situation. I mean, against Xavier, 11 assists. It's very difficult to win a game when you're not moving the ball to where, and you're running ISO.
And most of those assists were in the second half, the large majority.
Which is
when Jeremiah was out and they were moving the ball.
Just to double down on the point.
He has to understand that his role on this team maybe isn't what he like in the dream situation. What the dream situation was for his role. But given, again, we talked about this last night. This team has had 5 halves in 10 games where they've scored 49 or more points. That is an offense that can be really good, and they're doing it without Jeremiah being much of an impact. Imagine how much better they could be if he fully bought into, okay, Dave is 1, Landers is 2, Vic is 3, I'm 4. Let's all play off each other. And now I'm hitting 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Where's that? Where Jeremiah has 5 threes.
Because you passed the ball around the arc and waited until the guy was open. Because you were doing things like driving and kicking out and running offense instead of trying to play ISO hero ball bullshit, which is maddening to watch. It's not aesthetically pleasing.
Here's the thing. His 2 baskets in the Xavier game were because he was patient and played off of ball movement.
Color me shocked.
A shot in the first half, catch and shoot, shot in the second half, opening play, opening possession of the second half, which kind of set the tone for the second half for Cincinnati. Ball moved. Jeremiah was where he was supposed to be, caught the pass, in rhythm, knocked down a 3.
At the end of the day, the worst thing that you can be as a basketball player is a liability on both sides of the ball.
He's never going to be a great defensive player. He's
I
not.
understand, but you can't.
We agree. I'm not arguing with you. He is never going to be a great defensive player. Never. He will try hard. He will take charges.
Energy.
He will do the things you ask him to do.
He's a Bearcat. I mean, he's still gritty.
Yes.
That's not to take that away from him, but when you start to become a liability on the offensive side of the ball as well.
So what's the answer?
I mean, the answer this whole season has been your role should be spot shoot 3 guy.
Okay. So here's the problem, I think. I think they were in a position to keep everybody about even between DeJulius, Nolly, Davenport, and Newman. 2 through 4. You were in a position where Landers can play a couple of those positions. JD can play a couple of those positions. Newman can play a couple of those positions. Dave was going to be, a guy that you go to for buckets. When you take John out of that mix, and John is out of that mix, and now you take Finney out of that mix, so Dave now has to play more at the 1 than you wanted him to. Especially, I think you wanted to play Dave at the 1 some. If it was 1 Dave, 2 Newman, 3 Nolly, 4 JD. Right? Or some combination of that. That's out. Newman's out. Finney's out. So the math on how you handle this is different. I know a lot of people right now think the easy solution, because of what happened in the shootout, is to play Odie at the 4. And I don't disagree with that, but let me ask you this. What happens when you have a team that has a 4 that's essentially a guard or a wing? Odie's not a guy that can post up, really, and abuse that guy. And when he defends the wing, Odie's a guy that fouls a lot. So, and Kalu has not been good. Caillou sucks. That's a callback in the joke industry. That's a callback.
Yeah, thanks.
I think you maybe after sitting him for a couple games, you put him back in to see if things click and things start to be what you thought they would be. But you're not Vic is foul prone. So playing Vic and Odie together at the 4 and the 5, they couldn't do it in the first half against Xavier because Vic was in foul trouble. Vic played 7 minutes in the first half. Odie played 13 minutes. That means Odie played every minute that Vic didn't play at the 5. Then in the second half, Vic wasn't as much in foul trouble, and he and Odie played together, and they were able to neutralize, at least somewhat, Fremantle and Nunji. But when you're playing teams that have, a bigger 3 or whatever playing the 4, is Odie ready to do that? 1. And 2, what if Odie and or Vic get in foul trouble? Both of those guys are foul prone. You
have Sage
and Kalu. That's who you have behind them.
5,
if you're not playing Jeremiah at the 4.
5 career minutes for one and Old Dominion for the other.
So I know everybody, we're all in the same boat in terms of what is wrong. I don't think the fixes that everybody wants to think are okay, this is what's wrong. Everybody's pretty quick to diagnose what's wrong, right? How to fix it isn't as easy as everybody thinks it is. What's the fix? Because if you had Newman and or Finney, you can slide guys down. You can move guys around. But those guys are out until February. And we're in early December. Half of conference play is going to happen before John Newman and Rob Fennessy are back at best.
It's going to be a long season.
It might not be. But a lot of that depends on if Jeremiah Davenport is willing to accept. I am not who I think I am, but I can be what this team needs me to be. And that's on him. And we'll see you tomorrow night. That's the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!